Great work, Justin Miller. This is the budget hearing for the fiscal year 2019 budget.
Yes, thanks, Dave, for the introduction. Everybody should have a copy of the budget with them. If anybody from the public or someone that didn't get one would like one, I have a pass-around sheet that you can sign in, and I'll email it to you first thing tomorrow morning. So, Kim, you want to go ahead and start me out? Thanks. Some of the budget highlights: the general fund. We're going to invest $1.2 million into the general fund's infrastructure this year. We're going to contribute $1.6 million between the police and fire pension. That surplus for cash basis is going to be $753,000. On the utility fund, that $753,000, I should mention, includes the Parkside access. So you have to figure that's a pretty close, tight budget there. It'll be right around $50,000, I believe, when you back that out. So the utility fund is $4.1 million in infrastructure investment with a cash surplus of $386,000. I think it's important to focus on this number from the cash value side, because you'll see in the next page, the next slide, that number is inflated due to the counting principles we're taking into consideration. You see the general fund is on a cash basis already, so the net there is already $753,000 as it was on the previous slide. The utility fund is over $3 million when it comes to general accepted accounting principles, because it does not include our debt principal obligation that's expensed in the year that we take on that debt. So, general fund revenue breakout. As you can see, we're about 68% of our budget comes from sales tax, 41% the regular monthly tax, and 27% from the home rule tax, and your state income tax, franchise income, and other taxes makes up about 7 to 9% there for the remaining allocations. General fund expenditures, the largest section, as with most governmental entities, is 36% for payroll taxes and benefits. Our next largest is the operating supplies, and then debt payments, which that debt payments actually includes the Parkside payment that we make every year. It's the only current general fund debt that we have outstanding outside of the fire truck loan. Some of the projects that we are going to undertake this year in the general fund, we're budgeting $150,000 for demolition, $900,000 for the general fund street program, the resurfacing program, $110,000 for the fire department roof, and another $50,000 into the continual upgrades of the mausoleum cemetery. Utility fund, I didn't put in the general or the utility fund revenues because it's kind of an ugly chart. 98% of it is electric revenue and water revenue, so it doesn't really show you anything other than the fact that they both generate the lion's share of the fund's revenue. So I skipped to the utility fund expenditures. You can see that 53% of the utility fund is just the purchase of electricity from the IMEA. The remaining key expenses, infrastructure, as we've already discussed, is 13%, operating supplies, maintenance 13%, payrolls right around 7%. Some of the key projects in the utility fund infrastructure projects we are going to be taking on in fiscal 19, new water main for North Peoria and Main Street, the smart metering system, the sewer separation project that we do annually. This year is a little less than normal as we finish out one of the sections from the long-term project. Another $500,000 in waste treatment plant upgrades, and then new sewer for the St. John subdivision. Our pension contributions for the year, as I stated earlier, it'll be $1.6 million between the two police and fire pensions. This breakout shows the blue being the property tax allocation that we make, and the gray being the general fund transfer that we make. So you can see that the general fund transfer that we make to the pension obligation actually exceeds what we contribute from property taxes. And as we stated at the property tax hearing, that all we levy for is these contributions to the pension funds. This is a diagram I really like, as it helps to explain where your property tax money goes. So out of every dollar that you spend in property taxes in the city of Peru, 4 cents is coming to the city of Peru, and 96 cents is going to the remaining taxing entities. So it's always an interesting chart for me. Final slide here is the debt summary we have. So it shows where all the current outstanding obligations, where they started, our current balance, and the FY19 payment of just under 2.8 million. So another key point for this slide is you see that we have 4 different obligations falling off in 2020. So that'll be the next big year for debt falling off. That's all I have. Open it up for questions or any other comments.
Jesse, what is the total infrastructure investment the city's making? I know you have
Yep.
1.2 million on the general fund. I didn't quite catch what we were doing on the utility.
I think it's just under 4.2. So it'd be between the two of them. You're going to be at 5.34.
5.34.
Yeah. In there.
Do you know offhand what the state for pensions, the state recommends a certain amount to be contributed, and then
Yep.
we usually contribute more than that?
Yeah, we always get that after the fact, which is kind of interesting. They always suggest it for that year, and the actuarial report will come out sometime in like June or July on that. So it's kind of hindsight type of thing, but we're always in excess. Last year we were right around 1.1, I believe, in the police pension. I don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it was, and we were about $200,000 to $300,000 in excess of that. And we've been roughly in that $200,000 to $300,000 excess probably for the last 4 years at least.
Yeah, you're starting to
about the same this year.
Yeah. Okay, you did.
Right around that 1.1.
Yeah, we're going to contribute this year into the police somewhere near 1.5.
Yeah, you see a lot of these
1.48.
communities now that are starting to have trouble with they're not committing what the state asks them to commit. You were at some of these like Harvey and some of the other communities that have been really
Yep.
hard hit.
We took a proactive approach when we implemented GASB 68 a couple years in front of when you were mandatory required to do that. That was 3 years ago, and so we were able to get on the forefront of that and started contributing a lot more.
Justin, infrastructure is 1.2.
1.2 just for the general fund, and then for the utility fund, it's like 4.1. I can't remember the exact number. It's just over 4.1.
Is there anything budgeted for the first phase of Church Street from the south bluff up to 4th Street?
Unless it's under a different name from Eric and what we're talking about, there's no construction purchase or construction budgeted for that. Eric, was it?
That's correct. So that is not going to be started this year? It's not budgeted for this year. We're just getting into the design phase. So we just received this is something I reported on a while back.
So it's kind of interesting to think too, because you're looking at a lot of the projects we budgeted for in fiscal 18 are going on, that we talked about a year ago, are just going on. Some of them are just going on now, or some of these ones that we're talking about right now, let me back up. The ones that we're talking about right now, a lot of those have already begun. So we're budgeting for them, but the general fund street programs already began because it's just how the construction season cycle. So next budget, when we have, a year from now, we may be talking about already have been in a situation, I can't speak for Eric, but we might be talking about a project like Church Street or something like that.
So most times from inception, it takes us about 2 years to get a project through the budget and construction. Just because of the planning and permitting process on the larger projects, it takes about that long. So right now, we finished the front end process of obtaining all the survey for Church Street. We have that survey data. We started the design process. Now we'll be moving into the permitting process with all the state agencies. Once that's done, we'll develop plan documents for bidding and then put it on a budget cycle.
And what can I tell my Church Street residents down there about a timeline? This may not be appropriate for this particular meeting, but I'm curious.
Sure. It's a project that'll come with, every year we've been talking with the priority list, if you will. So it'll be on those list of projects next year for everybody to decide how we move forward into the budget. So I would say be prepared we wanted to move it to the construction season next year.
But if you're a resident of the city of Peru, I think it would be
Thank you.
fair to say that the city's presenting a balanced budget. They're putting $5.3 million into infrastructure improvement around the city. They're putting another 1.6 into pensions, another $500,000 into pension obligations in addition to that. The city's acquiring no more debt, no additional debt, and is paying off $2.7 million of debt principal. I think I think very positive for a city to give that budget approach.
Yeah, just one thing I thought of when you said that 5.3 number for infrastructure investment. It doesn't include the grant we received from the flood wall, so it's actually a little higher than that.
That's great.
We're working through our grant agreements right now with FEMA. There was an item in there that we had to kick back to FEMA. So I anticipate within the next month we'll have the grant agreements in place.
Is that scheduled this year?
Yes, so we still have to bid it. We haven't bid the project yet.
Yeah.
We need to get the grant agreement in place first, and then we'll schedule it.
Alderman Sapienza will be scheduling a press conference and making a formal announcement.
There is some money.
Probably down at the facility itself. Grandstands will be set up temporarily for spectators.
And there is some money that's budgeted in there for that. It's just not a significant portion because the grant is the bulk of the cost of it. So it's not, as far as what we go, what our outflow is, it's not a significant project from that point. But it is a significant project in the scope of the city. Guys, have anything else?
If there are no further questions, we'll adjourn the budget hearing, take a break, and then we'll reopen the regular meeting at 7 o'clock.
Like I said, if anybody wants a copy of the budget electronically, I'd be happy to email them. It is also online.
Please email out to Stephanie Pisha. Thank you.
Thank you.